All right, peace and blessings, everyone, and assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to the STEM Files, where we serve as your voice of STEM talent and Black culture. Tonight's episode, we're going to be building with Brother Romel out of Los Angeles, California. We're going to be talking about making Black content, the technical side, all the intricacies behind how Black content creators are making their content and how they do things online, and so much more. We're going to be talking about digital real estate. We're going to be talking about the writer's strike that's going on right now, and so much more. So, family, please stay tuned for more after this.
You believe in these false prophets, I say I bet he lying. No football, New York City Giants. Girl dad, rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. When we teaching our babies, we teach them heavy science. Heavy science. Heavy science. When we teaching our women, we teach them heavy science. Heavy science. Heavy science. When we teach men, we teach them heavy.
Well, family, as our brother Papoose just stated on the STEM Files, on this platform, we teach our women, our men, our children heavy science. And we like to pride ourselves as being your blackest STEM platform. This is not a platform. We don't like to call this a show. We don't like to call it a podcast. But the reason we use platform is because we use it to help elevate those that we bring on. Not only elevate them in what they do, but also elevate them generally and holistically. So we are proud to have well, first and foremost, let me introduce myself. My name is Brother Tariq, aka Tariq Cardiac. I am a biomedical research scientist with a concentration in cardiovascular pathobiology, which is the study of how diseases form in the heart and blood vessels. I'm typically joined by my right hand, my business partner and best friend, Jabril Muhammad, aka Jabril Engineer. He's a civilian mechanical engineer for the United States Navy, working on those big, powerful ships that you see out at sea on our coastlines. He is not here with us physically, but he's definitely here with us in spirit. But as we always say, this program is not about us, it's about the people, the amazing people and the talent that we bring on this platform. I'm joined by an amazing guest tonight. He's a filmmaker, he's a business coach for actors, and so much more. So without any further ado, please welcome Brother Romel X to the platform. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam. Allow me to open up in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who appeared to us in the person of Master Father Muhammad. I also bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is his exalted Christ. And then I further bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is his divine reminder, Messiah in our midst. I greet you all with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us. As we like to say, this is STEM Files Thursday. If you're watching us, thank you for taking the time out of your Thursday evening to join us tonight on this very, very, very special edition of the STEM Files. Now, usually when we have our programs, we usually have people on who are in the hard sciences, like biology, chemistry, geology, and of course the engineering fields. But we always like to kind of pivot how we come about, exploring science and technology in other areas as well, like filmmaking. So our brother may not be in the hard sciences per se, but he does play a hand in filmmaking at it from a scientific perspective and at a scientific and technical level. So first and foremost, bro, can you tell the people, your background, where you come from, and how you got involved in filmmaking?
Oh man. Well, first and foremost, thank you for the invite on this platform. I'm super grateful for the opportunity. I've been a fan of you guys for a minute, man. So to be on this side, to be on this side of it, man, it's truly a blessing. So praise be to Allah.
Yes,
Background from Los Angeles, California, specifically Norwalk. If you tell any natives Norwalk, they'll be like, "You're not from LA." You know how that goes with the locals. But California, born and raised. As far as filmmaking is concerned, that kind of came into play later on in my life. While I was in college, I started pursuing acting, and with the acting opportunities that I was getting, I felt like I just wanted more. And a lot of the projects that I was booking at the time, either they wouldn't come out or, whatever would happen. I just was like, okay, at least if I start creating my own opportunities doing for self, I'm in control of the distribution and I can create an audience for myself and start doing that. So the filmmaking was birthed out of Walaikum Salam, bro, Justin in here. The filmmaking kind of birthed out of me wanting to create opportunities for myself and not just wait on Hollywood to give me opportunities. So
that's right.
To a passion of its own, and now we are here, eight short films in. Praise be to Allah.
You said something powerful, man. You said you didn't want to wait on Hollywood to give you the opportunities that you wanted, and that's what our parent company, the parent company of this platform, is Original Man Scientific. And I started that company because I wanted to be in control of my research and development. Right? I didn't want to be, at the whim of a university or a private industry company that having their say so as to what I do with my work.
Right.
So I'm glad you were able to take that, because it takes a lot of gumption, really, to really say, I want to own this. I want to be able to control it, and no matter where I go, it belongs to me.
Right.
So I definitely commend you for that. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of Joshua-like, tendencies to really get that done. Because we dealing with giants, in our industries, whether it's medicine, science, in the film industry, these are giants. And when we come to them and we say, okay, this is mine, and I'm working in this space, we risk the chance of a lot of not backlash, but pushback. So can you talk about some of the things or some of the hurdles that you've faced so far in filmmaking and being able to control your own content?
Oh man, I guess the first thing that came to my mind was the hurdles, the learning curve in itself, because I didn't, I wasn't trained in filmmaking. I didn't really, at the time, I didn't really know what I was doing technically. I knew how to tell a story, but I didn't necessarily know how to put the components together. And Allah guided me on that. It was just more so, Issa Rae has a saying called networking across, where you find like-minded individuals, you get together and you make art. You know what I mean? So I was fortunate enough to meet like-minded individuals who were on the same level as far as trying to break into the industry. We got together, we were passionate. He was a videographer, I was an actor, I understood storytelling, I directed it, he shot it, and it came out beautifully. Praise be to Allah. But kind of what you were saying, it inspired a thought that you were just talking about as far as meeting the giants, in our industries. I didn't realize it at the time, but the value of creating my own content, when I started to meet these giants and started to meet some of the people who I admired and looked up to in the industry, they had a respect for me because I was doing, for self, and I was actually creating my own content. And they understand how difficult that is. At the time, I was kind of ignorant to how difficult it was. But, being that I had something to show for when I would come to them and have conversations, they had much more respect for me versus just coming with a handout and asking them for opportunities, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and no matter who you like we said before, no matter what industry, if you have the audacity to take your career and your work into your own hands, a lot of people respect that.
Right.
That's a real thing. Even your open enemy can respect you doing for yourself.
Yes,
there are elements to, okay, fine, you don't want to do it this way, you want to do it that way. Okay, all right, great. Let's see how far you can take this. And then you see that level of respect begin to grow. And then they be coming to you, asking you to help them with opportunities, But but of course, it's always good to keep everything in house and you having 100% control of everything. But yeah, man, I'm glad you talked about that. But since this is a technical episode, right, I wanted to get into, the real technical side of what you do. I know you are one of the producers on the Closing the Gap broadcast.
Yes, sir.
I've seen your work on YouTube and different types of skits and whatnot, and I wanted to just kind of get from you, if you can narrow down into like a 2-minute explanation as to what goes into production or filmmaking, like what step by step, what are some of the things you have to do?
Man, that's a great question. I'm glad that you asked that. Step by step, first of all, a lot of people have ideas, right? Like, the idea phase is always the first phase, but I see that a lot of people, as far as my industry is concerned, they'll come to you with an idea. And this is kind of why I created programs around this too, because it's like, how do we develop the idea before you even reach out to collaborators, because a lot of people they get inspired by the idea and they want to tell people and they want people to sometimes do it for them. But
right.
First step in the idea is, okay, let's develop it. And how we do that is we have to decide what type of project it even is. So if you come to me saying, oh yeah, I have this idea, da 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 da, and then I ask you, okay, what type of project is it? And you tell me it could be anything. Like most people are going to say that to me. And I'm like, no, it can't be anything. Is it a short film? Is it a feature film? Is it a skit? Is it a stage play? Like what exactly are we doing? So where we're adding specificity to the idea and we're able to develop it. And then from the development phase, as far as figuring out, okay, let's say it's a short film. How long is the short film? Rule of thumb in the industry is the shorter the better. So it's like, okay, what are the elements that we actually need? And we also want to start outlining the actual story. What story are we telling? Because every time, every show that you're watching, every movie that you're watching, we have something that we call a character arc. Like the character starts one way, and by the end of the story, they're a completely different character.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching it, right? So it's
right.
Journey that your character is going on. What story are we telling? That way, we can pinpoint the beginning, middle, and end, and measure the actual scenes that actually need to go in order for us to grow into this arc or of this character arc. So, for me, I believe that Allah gives me these ideas that I need to move out on when I can clearly see the beginning, middle, and end. That's how I know, okay, I need to develop this because it's right there. I can literally see it in my mind. So once we understand the beginning, middle, and end, then we can start outlining what I have, like an 11-step story structure outline that outlines the arc. And then in between that outline, we can start plugging in the scenes. Then we go into writing phase where we actually write out the scenes, and it gives us a really concrete roadmap to what we're going to actually accomplish in the story. And then from there, you write within your means. You know what I mean? If you don't have a $50 million budget, you might not want to, write in car explosions and all these type of scenes that, that aren't allotted for your budget. So you always want to write within your means. And then, then you can start reaching out to collaborators, for locations, dates, shoot times, availabilities, budget, and all that kind of stuff. But you want to develop the idea before you just start coming to collaborators, asking them to help you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Matter of fact, I wanted to ask, when you said that, you can take a character could start off one way, and then by the end of the content, they can be something totally different, right?
Right.
So, do you think our open enemy, those who are in control of our entertainment, or those who are in control of mainstream entertainment, let's put it that way, those who are in control of that type of entertainment, do you think that the reason that they use entertainment to help brainwash our people is because they can take something and make it something else with this type of industry?
When you say take something and make it something else, what do you mean?
So basically, like, they're using a character in this world that the character is in, they can control what happens to this person and then influence the thought of the person watching it.
You want to know what's crazy? Oh, yes, I see it all the time now, and it's hard for me to it's hard for me to watch TV now because I see it, and I'm like, okay, I see what, especially the subliminal messaging, and the enemy is a master at that.
Right.
Specifically, when I was watching You, like the show You, they kind of romanticize, and I was like, oh, this is our open enemy telling us who he is. Like they tell us exactly, their thought process, but they romanticize it in a way that seems fair seeming,
right?
And it's enjoyable to watch when, for me, ever since I came into these teachings, I'm able to see it and identify it. And I think that, projects like You, the Jeffrey Dahmer project, where I was just like, oh, they're bold with like the stories that they're actually telling and actually making it romanticized and fantasy like. It's crazy. But then I was also watching the project Wednesday, and there's a scene where the love interest, who seems to be the love interest for anybody who's watched the show, I got hooked. I don't even like TV like that, but I got hooked on Wednesday. So I'm watching the show, and it seems like this guy is about to be the love interest, but then he turns on her and basically turns evil. And I just thought that that was the best depiction of our open enemy, as far as like pretending to be our friend, but then they're literally plotting on us the entire time. And my brother Justin in here, we kind of talked about don't look up, right? Like the enemy we're dealing with the enemy that understands prophecy and they understand the current event. So they're doing it in very deceptive way that's actually entertaining to some of us. So that's what it made me think of. Like, it's crazy. So how do we combat that righteously with the kind of content that we want to put out into the world is something that I'm actively trying to figure out.
Awesome. You're doing a good job at it so far, bro. And I personally can't wait to see how you take your knowledge and help transform our people's mindsets, really. Yeah, and it makes you you think about the people who are making content our people who are making content right now, right? Whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Facebook or what have you, people like Big Job, people like Jada Fade, Country Wayne, Cornell. These people are these individuals are making content, for us, whether it's clean, or not. They're making content that they can control, that they know how to curate and do things, and expand it to where they want it to be. I've seen you do skits just like they do on YouTube. I've seen you in a few short comedies or what have you. Can you go into details to how y'all do this? Like, how do y'all decide, okay, who's going to be in what video? How do you reach out to people? How do y'all make sure that people get the money that they need, stuff like that? You don't got to give me all the secrets, but like, just kind of take me through the process of how you all created this world of comedy that we control.
Oh man, it's funny because I remember you hit me and you were like, I think I posted a skit one time and you were like,
I didn't know you do skits. Yeah. You remember that?
Because I was like, I've been doing skits for years. I just took a break. But for me, it's all about strategy and figuring out like what you're doing it for. Like for me, with the filmmaking, the turnaround time to on a film is not very quick. Like you have to write it, you have to develop it, they say writing is rewriting, right? So then you have to cast it, then you have to shoot it, then you have to edit it, then you have to figure out a marketing plan behind it. So in between projects, I will utilize skits in a way to continue to exercise my creative muscle and continue to feed my audience so I can grow my audience. So a lot of times how I started was things that I think are funny. I learned that I'm a situational guy. Like there's situations that happen in my life that I found to be hilarious. So I would recreate it and add the jokes, add what I thought was funny. And then as you start to distribute it to the audience, you start to see what people are responding to, what they like. Okay, you guys think this is funny. I think this is funny too. So you start doing more of what, and then your audience, the artist LaRussell talks about it a lot too, as far as your audience is concerned. Make content for you, you know what I mean? And the people who are just like you will be attracted to it. So, some of the stuff started to take off, and then, you see other people doing, kind of like we were saying, networking across. You see people like Jade the Fade and, people like my boy Carrie the Legacy who reached out to do some content. And, he had a similar desire as far as wanting to get into filmmaking. I wanted to do more of the YouTube content. We came together. We said, why don't we come together and unite? And we started doing content. He brings in Jake the Fade. We do a skit. It goes viral. And then you see the response. Okay, this is working. So you brainstorm. You come together like, okay, what is some content? Let's make a series out of this. How do we control, like you said, the content, control the distribution? And it's just really getting with like-minded individuals and coming up with ideas and ways to continuously grow and feed the audience as far as content is concerned. But those are some of the things that have worked for me. Just continuously putting yourself out there. You'll be surprised who reaches out to you. But a lot of people are afraid to just put themselves out there. But the first step is really just creating the content, putting it out there, and then creating and connecting with like-minded individuals who are doing the same thing as you do. You'll be surprised. Sometimes you think these people are like at such a high level, but sometimes they're doing the same thing that everybody's trying to figure it out in this industry. So there's no, sometimes people in the industry, when you get in, they might try to flex like a big I and little you, but at the same time, we all figuring it out. You see what's going on with this actor strike right now. We all are figuring it out. So I've been just trying to figure out a way to, how do I take all the information that I've learned, package it up, and consolidate it so we can expedite people's learning process and learning curve, so it doesn't take you 10 to 12 years to learn this information. You can get it right here in a program. So praise be to Allah.
Praise be to Allah. And I'm glad you talked about, how you're going to cast it, right? Because oftentimes, when I'm looking at these skits, I often wonder, why this person? Why that person? What was the psychology behind getting this particular person in this skit, right? So I wanted to know, just from you, say for example, you wanted to turn the STEM files, this platform, into a skit type format, right? How would you write a skit? Like, say if it's like a Facebook type skit, like a Country Wayne skit, right? How would you take that skit and turn it into? How would you take science and technology and turn that into a skit? Like, how would you take engineers, biologists, uh, biochemists, people who don't act? Or how would you get people to act as they're these particular individuals? How would you make a skit around science and tech?
That's a great question. In regards to casting, a lot of it is like, from my perspective, it's like I come up with an idea and I'm like, okay, this person would be good for this. This person will be funny in this element, because you kind of know their personality a little bit. As far as how to take the platform, what I would do is, since I like kind of going with the concept of making content for myself, I would create a situation where, because a lot of the scientific terms and stuff like that, I don't
Funny
know.
As hell. Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
So I would create an environment where you guys are speaking to me, and I'm like, I don't understand. What are you talking about? So,
right.
Actually, I've been thinking about that as far as like with the final call too, because a lot of times people think we out there begging for money, and it's like, no, we're trying to get you the truth. You know what I'm saying? So just creating situational scenarios where you're giving light, you're giving truth, but somebody is just not comprehending it. But it makes it relatable too, because it's like we get both sides of the audience. We get the audience who understands the information, and the audience that doesn't understand the information. We blend the two, and we create situational. Now it's like, what are the jokes? What are the punchlines? What are the what are the things that we can play with to make it funny and make it relatable? But that's where I would start. Like, what are some terminologies? What's some situations that we could put ourselves in that not only educate but actually entertain and bring humor to the light of, we call it what is the term? Edutainment. You know what I mean? So,
got you.
Ways to inform the audience, but then also add humor and add jokes and stuff like that. So yeah,
okay.
I personally think that's funny.
I do too, man. I got some ideas, man. I've been thinking about just kind of bringing scientific topics into that type of arena and making it funny and humorous, and still appealing to the everyday person, man. So I'm gonna get with you on that. I'm gonna remember that. But we close to that half-minute mark, and I wanted to get your take on something real quick. The writer's strike, right? We're seeing writers, actors, directors, take a stand on how the industry of Hollywood has been treating them, especially when it comes to the economic side and financial side. So can you give us your thoughts on this? Has this affected you anyway in what you do with filmmaking?
You know what? It has affected me in the sense of, I know a lot of writers who are in these writer rooms and who are staffed on these shows. So it started off with the writer strike, me kind of educating myself on that and figuring out, okay, as far as the new business model, because back in the day, let's say a studio would put up $1 million, right? They put up $1 million budget to make this project, and then that project goes to the box office. It gets made, it gets distributed, it goes to the box office, it makes $5 million, right? Like, we can pretty much see the numbers that are going on. But now with this new model of streaming, a lot of these streaming platforms, they're financing these projects, but then they're also not being very transparent about what the film is doing on the back end. So, and in return, they're also not allowing the same amount of residuals to happen. So back in the day, actors will make residuals and they'll get these residual checks, because in between projects, there could be a lot of time in between projects. Like some people think that actors are just working. Sometimes you're not working for months, for years. So in between those times, the residuals will help keep actors afloat. So now with the new streaming model, they are not offering the same amount of residuals, which is not sustainable for writers and for actors to sustain themselves in this business. That's what this whole negotiation is about. Even to the point where, as far as background actors are concerned, they're now saying that, and I posted this on my Instagram page.
Yeah, I saw some of the videos. Yeah,
they want background actors to get scanned, get paid for the day, but they want to use that scan, as far as AI is concerned, in perpetuity, with no pay outside of that first payment. So it's kind of ridiculous. So now people are standing up, people are taking a stand, and I think it's an interesting thing, as far as everything that's going on with the fall of America. That's kind of like what we're taught is going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like I kind of see Satan casting out Satan right now. So we're gonna see how this goes. I think it's interesting, but also it definitely has affected me, because I know people. I'm in the industry. I know people affected by it. But being that this is the perfect time for us to do for self, I'm not as affected, because Allah has blessed me to have, side hustles and have coaching programs that, I've been actively, ever since I came into the Nation of Islam 2 years ago, I've been actively striving to do for self. So I'm not taking so much of a hit than my counterparts who, their whole livelihood has been contingent upon them working in the industry. Hopefully I answered your question, but
absolutely, you answered it in there. Some. As a matter of fact, I wanted to add a follow-up question to it as it relates to the streaming, right? Because this is a science and technology based program, so I want to get into the real deep tech side of things. So, do you think that when they introduced, or when they started to focus a lot of their attention on streaming, do you think that was the original intent, to kind of keep more of the money in house, so that they don't have to pay people as much in the certain models that they were paying them previously before streaming came out?
100%. But I also think that the way that we consume content changed too, especially with the with the pandemic. People weren't going outside, they weren't going to the movies. And then it turned into, why would I go to a movie when I could just watch all these movies and these shows in the comfort of my home? So I think that the model changed right when that happened, but it was changing before that. But I think COVID was like the pivotal point of where things kind of shifted, as far as like, you really have to want to go see that movie now to go to the movies.
Yeah, right. Like if it ain't Black Panther, I ain't going.
Right. I was watching an interview where now they're talking about how, like, unless it's a big blockbuster movie, that's why they're making these Avengers and Black Panther and Barbie. We see the success of Barbie, but if it's not that, if it's like a independent movie, a lot of people don't even know about it. They're not getting the marketing budget for people to even know about it, to go support it, at the box office. So, streaming has definitely taken over. We've seen with music as well. So, it's the same fight on the music end as well, as far as, rappers and musicians and songwriters. They're like, okay, how do these streams calculate into money? Like, what is the actual science behind it? It seems like this mystery thing that's kind of going on, but what I'm seeing, as far as like the streaming services, they're actually not being forthcoming about, what's going on the back end too. So that's a part of all these negotiations. So it's very interesting to see how everything plays out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, family, we are at that 30-minute mark. We're going to get more into our brother's journey in filmmaking and as a business coach for actors. We're also going to be talking about how he was introduced to the Nation of Islam, what made him join, and then some. But family, we're going to get right to our commercial break. I always wanted to say that. Right to our commercial break with the Final Call newspaper. Check it out.
Now you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe to the Final Call Digital Edition today. Go to subscribe.finalcalldigital.com.
Peace. This is Naya Muhammad, a future architect, and you're watching The STEM Files.
Yes, indeed. Shout out to Sister Naya out of Chicago, budding architect. Can't wait to see what she does in the future. But family, this week's issue of the Final Call newspaper is about a situation that's going on in the Mississippi. Now, before I put this image up on the screen, viewer discretion is advised, and that some of this, that the content we're about to put on the screen may be a little sensitive to some eyes. So definitely just be aware of that. But family, this week's edition of the Final Call newspaper is Gangsters and Goons in Blue. Two black men barely survived a brutal assault in Mississippi by a group of white cops called the Goon Squad. The officers pleaded guilty, but what comes next what comes next and what does justice look like for their victims? Family, this is the latest edition of the Final Call newspaper. The Final Call newspaper is the flagship product of the Nation of Islam. It's a product that we use to educate our communities about what's going on in their respective communities and around the world. If you would like your edition of the Final Call newspaper, please tap in with me here in Richmond, Virginia, or in the surrounding areas, or tap in with my brother Romel in Los Angeles, or you can tap in with Jabril in Philadelphia to get your latest edition of the Final Call newspaper. FinalCallDigital.com at Final Call newspaper. Now, with everything that we've been seeing in the South, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that when the South rises, we all rise. And we've seen issues in Mississippi. Of course, we know what happened on August 5th with people are now calling the Alabama Sweet Tea Party or whatever you want to call it. There's just a lot of events taking place in the South around the same time, and this is a very indicative sign of what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said about the South and the different things that the South is going to go through to make sure that we as a people can come up. So please tap in with your latest edition of the Final Call newspaper. Now, I mentioned a few seconds ago that you can get your Final Call newspaper from our brother Romel. I wanted to just know from you, because I never really got the chance to ask you this. Matter of fact, when I first saw you in that skit and I messaged you saying I didn't know you did skits, I didn't know you were in the process of, becoming a registered Muslim, because I think that was a few years ago. So
Yes,
talk
sir.
to us about, what made you join the Nation of Islam, and have you seen the transformation in your life rub off on people that you're working with?
Oh man. Whoo! How do I condense this story? Oh man, because it's crazy because it wasn't just one incident that happened. But to try to sum it up, it really started. I went to a summer YMCA camp where I met a group of believers. This is a shout out to Sister Jalila Muhammad, Brother Marquise, Sister Aisha, like that whole group of, Mosque 27 believers. It was such a big group. I thought that they were all related. I thought they were like actual blood
Yeah,
family,
it's
but
big family over there.
yeah, so I met them at summer camp, and that summer camp had a really strong impact on me as a child. So growing up, we've always kept in contact. It was always love. So Sister Jalila, she's the one that pretty much fished me in. She would, continuously invite me out to the mosque. And I grew up Christian, so I didn't necessarily, I wasn't really into it, so to speak. But when I came into this creative endeavor as an actor, my acting coach, Anthony Gilardi at Anthony Gilardi Acting Studio, he wanted to challenge me as an actor, and he challenged me with the role of Malcolm X. And it was funny because a year prior to that, a friend had gifted me the autobiography that I hadn't read yet. So, the way that I was trained as an actor is you look at the best, you see what the best do, and you try to do twice as much as they did. So I knew what Denzel did with the character. I hadn't seen the movie yet, but I knew that he, I watched interviews. I knew that he went really deep. And so I was like, okay, let me just grab onto all the resources that I have as far as the Nation of Islam is concerned. And I knew, I had the resource as far as the believers that I knew, and I read the autobiography. I watched every lecture that I can get my hands on, and I went really deep with the character. You know how they talk about method acting and how some actors don't ever come back from that.
Right.
I never came out of that character, bro. Like I didn't realize that I was being introduced to the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And after doing that character and doing so many scenes in acting class, this is the height of the Trayvon Martin era, like everything that's going on with that, the Eric Gardner situation. So I saw
right.
differently. I was like, oh, everything that this man is talking about in this book is happening today. And that just really blew my mind in the way that I saw life just change. Like even with the content that I was creating, I made my first short film, America's Pit Bull, talking about highlighting some of these stereotypes in the Black community. And I just had a desire in this will to just want to change, the plight of the Black man in America. You know what I mean? So and then it kind of just morphed into, as I continued to learn and study and go through my spiritual journey, I went through a phase where it was like I just had these questions, bro. And I think that when you have these questions and you go to the believers, you go to a Muslim in the Nation of Islam with some questions, they're gonna hit you with some truth and some actual facts that I just couldn't deny. I was like, oh, this is making sense. Okay,
Right.
so I linked up with the brothers over at NFA. Shout out to Michael Amir, and he just laced me with a lot of the game. He, Jalila, Sister Jalila, she invited me to Savior's Day 2020. Brother Michael laced me with the message to the Black man, how to eat to live. Our Savior has arrived. I came back and I read the books, and then the rest is history, man. Like it just made sense. I was like, okay, what I'm learning makes sense. Everything else, no disrespect to any other religions, but it didn't make sense to me. But I'm like, Islam is mathematics, and Islam is adding up. So
That's right.
To a point where I was in the process of class, and it was like, all right, it's time to get your X. And I was like, all right, well, I'm not gonna turn back now. It's time to get the X. So
Keep going.
This is due to a lot. I didn't realize, what was happening, but and I'm still learning as I go, but I haven't been met with anything that isn't true. It's all truth. So it made sense. And as far as it rubbing off on people who I'm working with, I think yes, because it's weird, because it's like when you strive to be the clean glass, just seeing how people respond to that and how people interact with that has been very interesting. But it's been all love and it's been all respect. So I would say yes, sir. I can't necessarily, sometimes I don't understand the actual impact, but I see it happening. So all praise is due to Allah. I'm just a servant. I'm just a vessel. And, I'm just here to do the work.
Yeah, man. I asked you that because I was wondering, how you were being received, with the changes that you're making in your life, and you're still, and you're still in this particular world, and you're working with people that are not living like you, and you see you get on set, and it's like you trying to do a skit, and they're like, oh, so he ain't trying to holler, nothing, like, stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
it's a lot of that.
Right. Because when you, like I said, when you're making the skits, you got to pick and choose who you want in the skits, and 9 times out of 10, the brothers are using very beautiful, women, straight up,
Right.
So it's good to see. It's good that they get to see how you respond to their presence, how you're not like trying to get at them like somebody else made you trying to do that. So I
Right.
love that.
Praise
Absolutely, we need that for sure. Do you So let me ask you this, from a technical perspective, right? When you're, you know, when you're making your content, right? What are some of the tools that you use that help that content to relay the message that you wanted to relay? Like, for example, right? You may see podcasts that they may stream like this, where it's camera to camera, and both of you are from a disclosed location, um, or they may be in a podcast studio. So in your opinion, just from your technical knowledge, what how would you what would be your go-to way to get your content across with whatever type of technology you use?
So a lot of content, depending on the type of content is done literally on my phone. I utilize my phone a lot. I have an editing software on my phone that I use. But when it comes to bigger productions, as far as if I want a cinematic, view or a cinematic feel, then that takes a little bit more as far as like cameras are concerned. We're using 4K cameras, 5K cameras. I rely heavily on like my DP for that, which is a director of photography. That it's very collaborative. Like a lot of people see my projects and they might think that it's me, and I'm like, absolutely not. Like it's a team of people. My boy Adrian, I credit a lot for these projects because I come to him with the vision and with the idea, and he kind of comes up with these shot selections and the way that we should shoot it, the way that we should light it. And I'm just like, yes, sir, I obey. I hear and obey. And I'm just,
right.
I come with the vision, but as far as the technical parts, it is very collaborative. And Allah has blessed me with the ability to organize people and I can identify. I think it comes from like a sports background as far as when I used, I still play basketball, but being a point guard, you have to kind of be the general of the floor. You know what I'm saying? You got to know every play, know how to set up the play. I got to feed my man when he's hot. If my shooting guard is on the street, keep passing him the ball. Like you have to kind of have this court vision. And I utilize that in my filmmaking process as well, because it's like I'm able to identify, okay, you're good at videography, you're good at lighting, okay, you're good at producing, you're good at acting, you're good at writing. Let's put this all together and let's create a team that we can go on the floor and we can match up with any 5-on-5 to win a championship. That's kind of like my mentality behind it. So less technical and more so I could just identify the gifts in other people in order to bring people together to make a really dope project, inshallah.
Praise be to Allah. Yeah, and trust and believe. I get to see it firsthand, on your social media pages, or if you got something on YouTube, and that's very key. Being able to submit to somebody that knows more than you, and
Yes,
if
sir.
you don't have a certain skill set or knowledge or something, stand back, let that person come in and do what they got to do, because there are things like I do everything with the stem files, like everything you see, the intros, the graphics, all that. That's me. But there's certain things that I may outsource to other people and be like, hey, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? But most of the time, I'm able to kind of pick up on what I see on social media, be like, oh, I like that. Let me try that. Let me figure
Right,
out how I can do that.
right.
So I appreciate you going into that, being able to know where to put your personnel, that human resource, where does this person go, where that person goes. That's very important.
Yes,
And
sir.
family, yeah, go ahead, bro.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you good. You good. I was just gonna say, family, for those who are watching, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell to get more of our content and know more about what we do at the STEM Files. I wanted to ask you, man, with the type of censorship that we're seeing on social media, right? You know, if you may be able to post something, you may post something one day and then 3 days later it's gone because YouTube or Instagram don't really like how you said it, what you talking about, who you talking to, when you say certain things, right? So when you see people's content get removed, I think something happened with Closing the Gap, right?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so what happened with that? Like, was it all the videos taken down, or just the channel?
I think the channel was being played with. I don't know the actual details, but we had the backup YouTube that we were kind of dealing with. But yeah,
Okay.
yeah, a lot of weird stuff was happening with that, but we got it back, so everything is up and running. But we don't really know what specifically was going on with that. It started tripping one time, and then I think for a few weeks it was doing that. So the
Yeah.
enemy tactics, whatever. It's all good.
For sure, for sure. And us here at the STEM Files, we are victims of YouTube's shenanigans. They took down our ivermectin video we did with Dr. Sophia Shabazz. They flagged some of our content with Dr. Aleem and Brother Akili. So we get it. So from your perspective, right, what are some of the technologies that we can invest in or use to not have to worry about, okay, I have this digital real estate, but if I say the wrong thing or if I say something they don't like, they can take it all down. What are some of the types of technologies that we can invest in so that no matter what happens with YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, we still have our content readily available for our people to see?
That's a great question, and that's something that me and brother and Kenji out in he's out in the AV in the Palmdale area out here in California. You know, we've been collaborating and trying to figure this out too, as far as really just, I mean, we're doing it as far as, you know, creating our own platforms. We're going to need our own websites, you know, to facilitate our audience too. You know, if they take us off YouTube, we have somewhere to redirect the people, and it's just doing that legwork and doing, you know, the work that hard work of just building out our own platforms, building out our own systems, and really just figuring out how to really do that at a very high level. Because it's one thing, you know, our people, in order to attract our people, is sometimes we gotta, you know, you gotta have the finest of the finest, especially if they
it better look like what they got off of.
Right. So, you know, how do we do that in a way that's high value, you know, with that's competitive, right? So I think we have a lot of work to do, and we're figuring it out. But I think that is the answer. And I think that as long as we're in alignment with, you know, the program, you know, the minister talks about we have to be the moral superior of our enemies, along with being, you know, in alignment with the restrictive laws. I believe that Allah is going to continue to bless us, you know, not only with the ideas, but the execution of it. Like, how do we actually execute? So, you know, I changed the way that I was praying to Allah, as far as, like, you know, I remember when I used to pray, I used to ask him for things, and now it's more so of a, like, can you show me how to do this? Like, I don't
the
know
mindset.
how to do this. Like, I'm not necessarily asking you for it, but can you show me how to do it and guide me and divinely protect me? And every time I go to him, he gives me nuggets. He reveals things. So I think if we continue to do that, we continue to stick together and stick to the program, we're gonna figure it out. But that's really the answer. We just got to create our own.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we you know, with Original Man Scientific, I was telling you before, you know, it's a research and development company, right? And you know, we take pride in being able to help people with their ideas and their inventions and their innovations, or what have you, as well as work on our own. You know, so whenever, you know, you want to sit down and talk about, you know, some things that we can, you know, build, some systems we can build, you know, we're definitely here to explore that, and kind of see what we can do together.
Yes, sir.
All right, family. So at this time, we're gonna go right into our Black business highlight, and then after that, we're gonna wrap up tonight's program and get some closing remarks from my guest, Brother Romel. Check this out, fam.
GC, you on the 5, man. They ready?
Yeah, I know, man. This bow tie won't stay up, though, man.
Did you bend it? You got to bend it.
Yeah, come look at it. I think I got it. Come look at it. I think the clip may be broken. I'm good?
No, sir.
Oh,
No,
hey,
sir.
man, I can't go out there like this, man.
I mean, you know I got the bow tie holders, right?
What you talking about?
Keep your bow tie up.
There's a bow tie holder.
Let me show you. Take your bow tie off for me real quick.
There's a bow tie holder, man.
One go underneath, on top, just like that.
You've been waiting to show me this,
I'm
man.
waiting to show you, man. This is revolutionary. This is revolutionary. One for the other side, just like that. And now, let's see your bow tie. Turn up on me. You're on the 4. You're on the
Malik,
4.
man, what did you just do, man?
You're on the 4.
Hey, Malik, come back real quick. Real quick. You always do the same thing? Let me see.
It'll never fall again. It'll never fall again.
Come on, man. Wow.
Yeah, I just want to say, you know, oh, there we go. We see.
Hey, you know, I have to throw it on.
Yes, sir. So, man, I am a bear witness. I bear witness to the power of the bow tie holder, man. The magnetism behind them things is strong as hell. Your bow tie will never fall again. I guarantee it. I respect the innovation from that product, and the thought process behind it. Every FOI in the Nation of Islam should have one. Hell, even if you're not an FOI and you wear bow ties that are not, you know, tied around your neck, and you wear the clip-ons, which is fine. Don't let anybody tell you it's not. It's fine. If you're not, just go ahead and support your brother. You know, I put the link in the description, bowtieholder.com. And then, of course, our brother Romel wearing the product from the other brother in the video who was having a hard time with his bow tie,
Yes.
Golden Child. very, very powerful apparel line, Unity apparel line. I actually got a few of his apparel a couple of weeks ago, and this program is about innovation. It's about, you know, business product development, having something that you can call your own and pass down through generations. So closing remarks, bro. You know, we talked about the technical side of making black content. We talked about all the inner workings of how certain things work in certain settings. You know, but tell us, you know, give us something that you want to leave the audience with, you know, that's related to tonight's topic.
Oh man, well, I just want to say again, man, thank you for the invite on this platform. I'm extremely grateful, honored to be on this platform. Um, yeah, I think that what the only thing that comes to mind is any actors out there who are suffering from this strike, all the writers suffering from this strike. This is the opportunity for us to unite and, you know, create our own content. I see a lot of people discouraged in this particular time, but this is not necessarily the time to be discouraged. You know, I know that,
Right.
you know, we have our ups and our downs, but I think that this is the time for us to really come together, get these projects off of the ground, continue to produce, continue to develop. So when all of this does subside, we can come out of this, you know, with the proper perspective and with, you know, projects slated to go, whether that's trying to get financing or, you know, we actually uh, raise the funds independently. Whatever we do, you know, let's continue to create, because, you know, just because it's a writer strike or it's an actor strike isn't the end all be all of creativity. So again, I thank
That's
you
right.
for this platform, man. Like I said, I'm a fan of you guys, and I'm extremely grateful for being on this platform today, tonight, this evening. Yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah. Well, man, we are definitely a fan of you and your work as well. We love Closing the Gap podcast broadcast. Excuse me. Matter of fact, we love everything that you touch, man. So we appreciate it. So you know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that pain is the mother of creativity. So whenever we are going through something, you know, like what you see with the writer strike, or if you're going through anything internally that has anything to do with what you're passionate about, you know, always take advantage of the pain and redirect that pain into something creative, and you'll be amazed at how beautiful it comes out. So family, thank you again for tuning into the STEM files. If you'd like to explore, oh, go ahead, bro.
I was just gonna. Can I say one more thing before we close out?
Absolutely, yeah, go ahead.
So every Thursday for the brothers, any men, you don't have to be a registered FOI. If you are a male, we have a men's book club every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. That's 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and that's 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. You see, I have to like take my time with the time zones because the time zone. But we have a men's book club. It's called Meeting of the Gods. You can check us out on Instagram, Meeting of the Gods 19. We're actually on right now. That's where I'm about to run to once we fit.
Oh, yes, sir. Okay.
I just wanted to make that announcement for the brothers and for the men who are interested in studying. Right now, we are studying a book from Brother Nuri. We just finished A Well-Made Man, and right now, I believe we are Let This Mind Be in You. But every week, you know, once we close out the book, we have a new book every time that we finish the book. I said book a lot right now, but that just means we want you to come and join our book club, men only. All ages are welcome. You know, you don't have to be an adult. You can also be a teenager or just a young brother trying to learn more about how to be a man, as far as what we're learning and everything that we are learning together. So just wanted to say that. Meeting of the Gods.
All right, praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. I wish I knew you were part of that, man. I would have made some content to promote that. But yeah, we definitely gonna tap in with that. Can you drop that the information again real quick for those who didn't hear it?
Meeting of the Gods, that's Instagram at Meeting of the Gods 19. And then that it'll have the Zoom information too. And I could also it should have the Zoom information in the bio as far as Meeting of the Gods.
Got you.
Meeting of the
All right,
Gods.
family. Cool. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up. This has been another edition of the STEM Files, where we serve as your voice of STEM talent and Black culture. Typically hosted by myself, Tariq Cardiac, along with Jabrian Engineer. Follow us on all social media platforms at the STEM Files: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. And if you want to just, learn more about what we do, learn more about, the respective sciences that Jabril and I are in, please tap in with us on all of our social media platforms. We mainly use our social media platforms to educate the people in the sciences. So please tap in. Once again, voice of STEM talent and Black culture. Thank you all for tuning in. Peace.
Peace.
You believe in these false prophets, I say I bet he lying. No football, New York City Giants. Girl dad, rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. When we teaching our babies, we teach them heavy science. Heavy science. Heavy science. When we teaching our women, we teach them heavy science. Heavy science. Heavy science. When we teach men, we teach them heavy